Okay, yeah, this was a pretty amazing episode like usual, but probably for different reasons in the majority of the readers. Chapter 64, titled Distant Daydreams, is available for everyone on October 19th, 2020. So this is your only spoiler warning if you do not use any FastPass coins. Proceed with caution. Go listen to the OST for this episode on Sophism's YouTube and cry a little, and then cry a little more when you actually read the chapter itself. I kid. Thank you so much for 300 plus subscribers. I am very, very excited for my Carmine Camellia breakdown. That will be up at the end of this week, so if you don't want to miss out, like and subscribe for weekly reviews and occasional theories. And as always, skip around to any section you want, as they will be broken up in the timeline already for you. With that intro out of the way, let us begin. So as you may or may not know, I changed the titles of the chapter for my titles for these chapter reviews. I take that last word, make it the first one, and then add another alliteration for a different take on what the chapter has to offer. The little creator notes this time, Sophism pointed out that F is the one that comes up with these titles, which are fantastic because the usual titles for manga or webtoon chapters are like blank arc 4. Blank arc 5 or something like that. Although not everyone reads the title since they're eager to jump into the material of the chapter as quickly as possible. The title offers a chance for authors to further add descriptors, and when I see older titles of past chapters, I immediately recognize what happens in that said title or in that said chapter. So the original for this chapter was Distant Daydreams, and my version was Daydreamed Disconnection. So the daydream part was a little harder this time because you can only really change that word so much other than adding like a gerund to it, an ing to it. Disconnection is a little hint to all the supposed connections that I will be talking about throughout the chapter to the Annandale bomb training and DL and Will's father and everything, but because there's so much packed into this chapter, you could say that it was just me dreaming about said connections. So a lot of different sections that I want to talk about and cover, such as the lyrics of the OST that were used because it kind of represents Kiwi, but as usual we gotta talk about the lie that we got this chapter. Bearded guy with a top hat, gray hair, right behind young William. It has to be his father, right? Since we haven't really seen him yet in the story, we saw that portrait 2 chapters ago at the mansion in 62. Let me check. Okay, so the portraits of William's father's mansion shows a younger father without the gray hair. So I'll just say that it's the father. He lies to Tristan saying, "We never had an agreement, we couldn't settle." This seems to imply that the father was talking to about the Sinclairs here, and that's why they maybe resulted in dying in the accident, or quote-unquote accident, but also could be referring to Sandman and maybe the idea of Snapdragon, if Sandman was also a part of it, who knows? Father was the chief of police, so going against the Sinclairs doesn't automatically put him with the Phantom Scythe yet, but it definitely raises suspicions. What if he's the actual 7th Apostle and decided to leave the APD to start his own revolution since the leader was taking too long? It looks like he has the funds to handle something like that. Also, the same top hat was photographed in the picture that Lauren has that she got from, was it Ansel? Yeah. That shows the Sinclair's car was at the train bombing, but it seems like a common hat around this, era, or people that wear in Art Hollis. So I don't think we can make that jump that the father was the person that was standing next to the car. Lauren spent the entire episode contemplating on her desk. JK. It was off screen, but she basically raided the local precincts for information, and nothing really came back solid. I think it's interesting that the authors here are showing us Lauren's thought process and linking the different events together. Circus, stains, nitro, points to an explosion at the circus, and the stains are probably from checking the underground storage that Cigar Chick is manning. What's cool is that we know something will happen and kind of how it might happen, but the suspense comes from the nitty-gritty details that adds nuance to the plan for Radcliffe's ball, and how everything will surely come together. I'm predicting for the finale of Season 2. In the reports from the 11th Archives of the car accident doesn't really give us too much new information, and I'm not going to try to figure out the blurred parts because Sophism put sushi for what that person called William at the end of 62, so I don't think it's even worth trying to decipher anymore. Who is this blue-eyed guy at the funeral? I don't really recognize him. Is it the right hand for the king? Maybe. I really liked how we address the part that Kieran is on a time crunch by the leader to find out who Loon is, and he can't really delay it any further. Also, it looks like we got some confirmation that Kieran was at the train bombing, and he also kind of knew it was happening, which we got hinted at when we had the reveal of the Nitro in 59. This further adds to the parallel that Lauren wasn't alone in knowing the events of this tragedy and couldn't do anything about it because Kieran seems to be in the same exact position. I'm also sure that we'll learn more about this in the future. Kieran looking back on himself running to try to save those people with that vertical shot of his locked room was poetic and a really great use of panel composition. On top of that, we've seen a lot of people just sitting. We see Lauren sitting, we see William sitting, we see Kieran sitting. It's interesting how Lauren is the one that's faced the opposite direction of Kieran and William, and Kieran is the one that turns back to look back towards the same direction as Lauren. I think that's kind of a cool little moment there. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it was pretty nice. The 43 moment that had been coined of this chapter, I didn't really feel it. 43 was a supercharged moment between our two main characters that we had a pretty deep idea of their backstories and their trauma as well. In this chapter 64 was by our supporting cast arguing, who we don't know too much about their past other than a couple hints. It's like I pointed out in the team up between Soleil and Loon in, I believe it was 53, that Loon has really high stakes comparatively, so the emotional investment I have will always favor Loon. And that's not a bad thing if you enjoy this chapter, but for me personally, it wasn't to the same peak that people had built it up to. I'm sure this chapter will hit a lot harder when we look back after the finale of season 2, so I will be looking forward to that whenever that happens. So William misunderstands and thinks that he is yet again messed up something. He's been going on a losing streak lately, so I don't really blame him for thinking otherwise. His little outburst is reasonable. Kim's little shock face when William pulls the watch away from her was surprising to me. It seems like she was afraid of the thing that she was holding dear getting away from her, and this was kind of a gut reaction to that, which then follows her counter that William doesn't have to fix everything because it was broken all along. I think this could be viewed as a little microcosm of their relationship or any relationship that William has, that being a people pleaser and trying to adjust for someone else's sake doesn't fix anything in the long run, and that it's okay to be broken as long as you are loved. That's kind of my takeaway from this, but patiently be waiting for Lonix's essay if she writes one for this chapter. I miss them. Also, I don't really understand young William's scene at the end of the chapter. I like the parallel of the teardrops turning into light/fire, similar to Lauren's tears in the prologue/finale of season 1. Does that connect to William's tragedy to the train bombing as well? Did the train bombing cause his father to lose his position and start potentially abusing William? I don't really know. Kim's scene at the end, I really liked a lot because, well, I like when we get more of Kim, honestly. Her on the edge of the wall teetering back and forth kind of makes me think that Kim was really still trying to decide on whether she should be on Lauren's side or against Lauren, and this was kind of a representation of that. Alright, well, this video is getting kind of long, so I'll save the lyrics breakdown for another time, but I do think it was cute that DL used to sing this lullaby to her, and now Will is filling that place in her heart. Camellia video later this week. That's all for the video. Thank you so much for listening up to this point. As always, make sure to heart the chapter when you finish reading and comment to be a part of the community. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this sort of stuff. My social media can be found by searching Inspirational on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Shout out to my designer. You can find his work on Instagram at @JatinV_photography. See you all next time.